my name is Juanita. Welcome to the Scientific Python interviews. Today we have Kira Evans from the Napari Project who will tell us everything about how she became a maintainer. Hello Kira, please introduce yourself.
Hi, thank you so much for having me on. I'm Kira Evans. I'm a software engineer at the Chan Zuckerberg Initiative, and I'm also a core developer on the Napari Project. I've been contributing to open source software for about 3.5 years now. And a fun fact about me is I've been playing the piano since I was 5.
Wow, that sounds awesome. So what drove you to contribute to open source in the first place? And what was your first open source contribution?
So I first contributed to open source because I attended a scikit image tutorial at a few SciPy conferences ago. And I was like, this is super cool. And towards the end, they mentioned that, they always welcome new contributors and contributions, no matter how small. So when I was bored and in college later, I was like, why not contribute? So I made my first pull request ever, which was just fixing a really simple edge case in a test. And then later on, I worked my way onto more difficult things.
It worked really well for you to be bored in college. So how did you end up becoming a maintainer? And what do you think was the greatest challenge to do so?
Yeah, so I wasn't necessarily, invited as a maintainer to an existing project. More so, I was hired as an intern to flesh out the Napari project, which I mentioned earlier. So flesh it out at its earliest stages. So in that sense, I guess I was sort of a maintainer from the start. But probably the most difficult thing to get used to was working with a volunteer and international based team, which was a bit tricky communication-wise.
Especially schedules. Schedules are crazy when you're working with people from all around the world. So why did you decide to stay in the open source community?
I really like the open source community because I find it to be really open, helpful, inclusive, and I don't know, there's just something about participating in something by the community for the community that I just like a lot.
Yeah, it seems like people stay because of the community more than the code. So what do you think that you're doing to make the open source community better?
So I try where I can to establish practices that make the community more welcoming and inclusive to all. And specifically, I'm trying to engage and remove barriers for historically underrepresented minorities within the community.
Wow, that sounds awesome. I'm really glad that you're working on that. What do you think someone should consider joining the open source community?
Yeah, as I said before, I love the open source community. It's really great, helpful, and understanding. And for me personally, it was willing to help me grow and mentor me despite my inexperience when I first joined with regards to, open source and Python in general.
Yeah, totally. So I'm wondering if you're willing to give some advice to someone who wants to contribute to open source?
Yeah, so I guess what I would say is, so I was initially hesitant to contribute because I was as I mentioned, I was inexperienced, I was unsure of my abilities, and I wasn't really familiar with the ecosystem at all. So when I first started, I had no idea how to use GitHub. I was literally downloading zip files instead of coding, and I barely used NumPy. I was still pretty new to Python. So my advice would be, don't talk yourself out of contributing just because you're worried you don't know enough. I think I really didn't know that much when I first started, but the community helped me grow. And, as I said, they're very helpful. So you can just start with something small, like a simple bug or a typo, just to get your foot in the door, and then ask for help and mentorship as you go along. And I think it's important to recognize that any and all help is appreciated from the maintainer. So like, don't count yourself out before you get started.
Yeah, thanks. That's so true. I started working on like GitHub about like 4 or 3 years ago, and I think I still struggle with it. So I think that the message
I
is
feel
clear.
that.
You don't have to be an expert to start contributing, and I think you will get a lot of help along the way. So thanks for that advice, because I think it's really useful for everyone. Okay, that was the end of our interview, and thanks a lot for sharing this experience with everyone and with me. And I hope to see everyone who's watching this video soon. I don't know if you want to say bye.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. Ciao.